Naked Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Okay, I want to welcome everybody to Iggy Garcia Live, episode 111. So, today we're going to be talking and sharing, and you're most welcome to join us. Today's topic is about how we heal old wounds and parallel universes and different things that are happening in the world right now. I know there's a lot happening, there's a lot going on. We tried to do a show last week, and it didn't work in our favor, which is okay. It happens sometimes. But today we're gonna try to do a little better. So we're gonna light our candle, so we can set the tone. Give thanks to our ancestors. Give thanks to all the people in our lives, the people who are important to us, the people who mold us and shape us, and also we help shape and mold other people as well. So we give thanks, and we rise our candle, we light our candle to the universe, giving thanks. That will burn throughout the show. Excuse me, as I clear my throat. And then we're gonna light a little sage with spearmint. It's always a good combination. Yerba Santa. That's what spearmint is. So. Smells good. Just kind of clear the area, clear the space. The spirit come in here and give us the right excuse me, the right voice to share. Greetings to everybody. I want to say hi to Andy, Christy, and Michelle. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here today. Today is June 18th, 2020. So, just taking in the good Yerba Santa with white sage. It's a nice combination. Clear the space, prepare our energy, get ourselves in the right frame of mind. Sherry, welcome to the show. I want to thank you for joining. All right, so we'll let that burn here. So, today our color is blue. Blue holds space, tranquility, love, loyalty, security, trust, and intelligence. See if that holds true. Anyhow. Alright guys, so I just want to give thanks to everything and everyone that's supported my ministry here on With Insights and on Facebook, and just want to thank everybody who comes out to the drum circles and stuff. So there will be a drumming this Saturday at noon for the solstice at Griggs Reservoir, which sets off of Fishinger Road in Nottingham. There's a road down there. As soon as you turn down that road, you turn left. You go up about less than a block, I think, and there's a huge shelter house, and then there's like this stone pavilion. It's like I call it pavilion or stage or whatever. You wouldn't know from the outside, from out looking over, what it is, but if you walk towards the stone structure, that's where we should be drumming. The weather should be pretty warm, but we're under shade, so it's really cool. It's nice. It's pretty laid back. So, but I do want to make a statement, though. If you have valuables, leave them at home, okay? And I don't mean to bring that stuff into our little realm here, but we had an incident where a couple cars got broken into. And could be just one of those random cases, but you never know. You have to be careful because right now people are in a very different mindset, in a different place. There's a lot of lawlessness, I guess, to some degree, and so we don't want to encourage that. Usually criminals will just look through, and if they see something they like, they'll go for it. If they don't, they'll just keep moving along. But maybe we should keep a vigil, help each other out when we are at the drum circle. Maybe do a little walk by, make sure nothing's going on. Anyhow, but Okay, so here we are. We are almost halfway through the year, if not through almost the year. And a lot has happened. And a lot has occurred. And a lot has developed. A lot has evolved. The biggest thing that's happened is, humanity has been given a new task in order to find its way, find its path, however you want to look at it. That may be true for some people, may not be true for everybody, but we are on the cusp of doing some amazing things. We are in a time and space to look at things and reevaluate things, go back and bring things to the forefront and heal some things. And what are the things we're going to heal? Well, wounds, right? What are wounds? Wounds can be anything. Wounds can be physical, mental, spiritual, you name it. However you hold on to it, however you keep it, it affects you. Everybody has wounds. There's nobody on this planet who's not wounded. Okay? What you do with the wounded parts of you is really up to you. That really plays out how you see life and how you express life. A lot of it has to do with your upbringing. A lot of it has to do how if you're in alignment with your upbringing, if you're in alignment with the people who raised you, if you're in alignment with the foundation that was created for you, because there was a foundation that was created for you in the beginning. And then eventually you break away from those foundations or you incorporate them into your life. And so we're here in this place now where we either take the information that we've gathered, the information that we've compiled through our course of our life, and we either use it to our benefit or we discard it. It's easy to say we discard it, but it's not that easy. Okay, so a lot of us hold on to things because we think we should. We've been told that, my hat's bothering me for some reason. We've been told to, own what is ours. Okay, so we own what is ours and we own what we believe is part of how we perceive ourselves versus how others perceive us or project upon us. So many of us take on the energy of other people who, project onto us. Not because we necessarily agree, but it leaves a question. It leaves a question in our mind. Our mind is we question things. That's what we do. We're humans. We have an inquisitive mind. We have these places that we go inside of our own brain. And we go into these journeys and then, someone says, oh my God, you're such a pain in the ass, And then, at first you're like, who's this guy? Call me a pain in the ass. I'm not a pain in the ass, And then they walk away. You go home and then you go, I wonder if I'm a pain in the ass. I wonder if that's true. No, I'm not a pain in the ass. But you mulled on it. You've recorded that. You took a snippet of someone else's projection and put it inside you temporarily. Either to hold or just to kind of say, well, or to monitor your behaviors. A lot of us are the way we are because we are just naturally born this way. And a lot of us are this way because of ancestral DNA, ancestral miasms and things in our body. In the way we are affected because of the month we're born, the year we're born, either summer, winter, or fall. All that plays into your personality. So I was here to talk about healing wounds. So, and that's what I want to get into. Healing the wounds that, that kind of, hold us back. Okay, I had, and if you guys have questions, please ask. So we have these wounds, these things that have affected us and have changed us. And so in the belief system where I come from, everything kind of happens simultaneously. Everything's going on kind of at the same time, but at different parallels, different points of line in the universal game. But because we all have a predestined destiny, we have a destiny. And our destiny is, number one, to be born stark naked, you know, and when we pass, we die alone as well. And when I mean alone, not somebody next to you praying with you. No, we leave this earth on our on our own way. We take those steps. Nobody crosses us over. We take those steps. Now, some of you believe in angels and stuff, and they're waiting for you on the side. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're born, you come through that canal, you come through that pressure, you come through all that hard work, and then you're here, and you're born. Even though your mom helped incubate you for that period of time, those 9 months. Death is the same way. Death is also preparing us, and getting us ready, because we're living to die, dying to live. Some of us don't want to die. Some of us want to stick around as long as possible. In other words, want to check out immediately. So how do we heal old wounds about yourself? Well, you have a very grand opportunity to do something that probably nobody has ever even given much thought. Now that we are in this day and age and time, we have the opportunity, we have the skills, and we have the information to understand that we can do certain things that we possibly didn't think we could do before. So how do we heal our wounds, the things that happen to us? Number one is to understand that a lot of the things that happen to us is things that have been pushed and carried through our lineage, through our line. Because there have been other people who felt that they had to own the shame, they had to own the guilt, they had to own that part of them that was abused, or that part of them that was the abuser. They felt like, well, since my dad did it, I had to do it. Oh, we were all this or that. We were all, something happened to us. So at one point do we learn to forgive the pieces and parts of ourselves? Okay? When do we let go of those things that hold us back? Okay, right now you have the opportunity to fix or rewrite, retell the story. It's kind of like you tell the story 1,000 times, and eventually the story changes. And you keep adding to the story, you keep embellishing the story. And if you keep telling the story to somebody else, they'll change the story, and the story changes. It keeps going. And the story goes on and on and on and on. So we hold on to stories, because that's what humans do. Humans create stories, they share stories. That's how they tell history. That's how they shared what happened in the modern time, in their time and place. So you can imagine all the stories that have been created. For example, Christopher Columbus came here and discovered America, but it wasn't true, right? But for how long did people say that he discovered America? Number one, he rediscovered a land that wasn't even called America. Okay, these are examples of stories, how they are created. But for a long time, people took that energy, ran with it, kept telling the story over and over and over, and eventually, it just kept going and going. And that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that we tell stories to ourselves. We keep going on and on. So the wounds that we carry inside of our body and the wounds that we carry inside of ourselves, we carry them on. We keep going and going and going with it. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't want to heal. They think they want to heal. They think that they want to move into the space. But my great great grandfather was a pirate, and he killed people. For some people that's a cool story. He killed the British, blah blah blah. But then that story carries into modern times, and it doesn't have the same relevance. And then you have that same anger, and you still have those same behaviors, because pieces and part of you are moved along in the genetic pool. So how do you heal those things? How do you heal old ancestral wounds? Well, number one, first, is forgiving yourself and being aware that you're not that person. You're none of those people. You're only the pieces and parts, and the compilation of all those things that comes together. You compile all those things, but that doesn't make you that. So if you're following along with me, hopefully you're getting to what I'm trying to say. Because what happens is we hold on to all this energy, past energy, that isn't our energy. A lot of it's ancestral energy, and we carry that. And we carry that into relationships, we carry that into friendships, we carry that into our own belief systems. Okay, it's like the story of Santa Claus. You tell it long enough, people start to believe it. And, and some people will still challenge you to today that either Santa was just some old dude who just liked to give away toys, and some people really believe he's a magical guy on reindeers and he's flying through the sky and he can bend space and time and go through chimneys because he can warp and change his body, right? But see, that's the thing. When you tell stories long enough, they become real. Just like yourself, the wounds and the hurts, the things that you keep telling yourself, because you don't want to ever fall back on that trap or fall back into that place where you were wounded. Because that's how the wounded warriors, that's how the wounded people protect themselves, is not allowing themselves to fall into those categories again. So how do you forgive yourself? Because it's really about you forgiving you for what has happened and not having to feel the shame and the guilt of all the things that happened to you. Because it's so easy to blame ourselves for being in a situation. A lot of people, will say things, words hurt. When people tell you something, and when people yell at you or scream at you or call you names, you could say, it's really their story. It's them telling us. But you know what? It hurts you because part of you is human. All of you is human and spiritual, and you feel the energetic thrust of these words because words are very powerful. Words are prayers. Words are very profound, or they can be very detrimental. So it's like listening to a motivational speaker, that someone that you truly love, they inspire you to strive. And it's the same way when somebody speaks to you in a negative connotation, negative way, and it affects you. Because those words it's spellcasting. Because you can change the chemistry in somebody's body by just looking at them and by just speaking to them a few words. When you look at somebody in a lustful way, they know. If you look at somebody in an honorable way, they know. So words aren't even, you don't even have to speak words. Sometimes you can just give the look. You can give that feeling, that emotion. So we're working through our stories. For example, something happened to somebody. They were molested as a child. They were abused as a child, which is a very common thing. Unfortunately, in our time, in our society, that is a big thing that happens to a lot of people. There's a lot of common threads with a lot of people. And the story is, is to understand why these things happen. Why is a child abused by an adult or another child? Most of the time it's another adult, right? So let's look at this parameter. Let's look at this space and time. Not to defend and not to provoke any feelings of into you, but a lot of times the perpetrator, there's two things. They're very disconnected from themselves, okay, or they were abused themselves, and most likely they were also abused, probably by multiple people. And so this is a story that goes on and on and on. Okay, I, for example, am also a person who was abused. You go through the feelings, you go through the emotions because you want to share your story, because you want to be liberated from these feelings of pain and these things that hold you back, these things that put a wrench in your life. They put a crux in your life. So how do you heal this little person, this version of yourself in the past, when you're living in the present with so much anger, frustration, and rage about it? Now, I'm not saying everybody has this situation, not everybody feels it, but there's been some kind of trauma or abuse or neglect or ignorance. To be ignored is probably more dangerous and more hurtful than to actually be acknowledged. So what happens when you're in a situation like this? Years of counseling, years of trying to understand who I was and what part I played in that was probably the most difficult part for me, because I didn't think I played any part in it. I didn't feel that I was doing anything wrong. And, I probably wasn't. I probably was just a kid who just was lonely, curious, and, we are sexual beings. We are sexual beings, and sometimes our sexuality plays out. And you follow along with me, because sometimes we are very good teachers on how to teach other people how to treat us. And then sometimes there are other people who just know how to circumvent and how to abuse people because they've become good at it. As for example, my perpetrator, I know that he was abused because later on you find these things out. But I always wondered my part. How did I fit in? Why did that happen to me? I would ask myself that. Why did that happen to me? You know, without really giving much thought, there's a part of me that also felt very vulnerable, felt very discounted, felt very lonely. And this is just my case. I invited somehow that energy into my life, but it's energy that's been passed down through me to do that, and not to speak. And so many kids don't speak. So many kids don't share what they feel because they're afraid. Because the person's imposing, the person's bigger, the person's stronger. Okay, so the damage is done, and then we move on. So how do we forgive the child? How do we forgive this child who was violated? By first acknowledging, the adult acknowledging that, you know what, you're not a child anymore. You're part of this child, that you're integrated with this child, that this child is integrated with your adult version of yourself. So when you bring these two pieces together, okay, Iggy of 13, 14, of Iggy 53. So how do these two merge? Well, sometimes 53 and 13, 14 don't jive. So we have to find other pieces and parts of ourselves of younger ages, another version of ourselves, to help integrate this wounded kid, this child who's wounded, and to share energetically that they won't ever be violated again. Because see, this child, even though this child is 8 or 13, whatever, this child still resides inside of us. And this child who's wounded, okay, still holds the cards. Even though you may have gone for years of therapy, blah, blah, blah. But when you start to work on forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for the child, and, you know, the area where you need to find and heal those wounds, you work with a kid and you work with this child to gain the trust. Because, you know what? Trust is very important. Trust is very important, and forgiveness is very important. Because to forgive ourselves is probably the biggest gift we could give. But how do we do that? How do we get into that space to forgive ourselves on something that we felt kind of responsible for, and that trust that was broken because we couldn't protect ourselves? Now, as a 53-year-old man, I could probably protect myself much better than a 13-year-old kid. Probably, yes. Now, the 13-year-old kid may not trust me. The 13-year-old kid's like, you know, it's just another guy. You know, he's just talking shit. You know, he ain't going to do anything. Bring in my 18-year-old. Hey, listen, I got your back, man. I'll take care of you. You know, we're going to take care of Iggy 53 is going to take care of Iggy 18. And Iggy 18 is going to take care of, you know, Iggy 13. Okay. It's not your fault. Don't hold anything on it. You know, you were where you were at, and the circumstances played out. So basically what you do is you start to learn to forgive the pieces and parts of you that are frozen in time, because they're frozen. They're locked solid, like a block of ice in the freezer. It's that frozen. It's that locked in. So what happens is there's a lot of ancestral stuff. So the ancestral stuff, for example, in my family, was the abuse. The abuse of my uncle to me and other men towards me. And so how do I heal these other wounds? Believe it or not, you can go back into time and write this story. Hey, will it actually change it? Yes, it will change it. You won't even know. You won't even notice the subtleties, because you'll start to chemically change. You'll start to change emotionally, spiritually, when you start to do the work. And now my video is gone. Not sure what's going on. It's still playing. Let me know if you guys can still see me. But anyhow, so I'm going to at least keep talking. So we've got these energies that we're dealing with, and these energies are locked in time, and we're moving through this. I'm sorry, this is like really weird. My camera just stopped working. That's okay. Always something, right? Anyhow, I'll keep going. So what happens is we have to go back in time and go deep into our ancestral roots. Why this happened? These kind of abuses have happened for eons. So this is nothing new, but this is something that gets passed on and on and on. So you have the grand opportunity, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to present yourself as the person where it ends, where it stops, then this kind of energy will be totally cut off. And by cutting it off and by stifling it and by putting it to sleep, putting it to rest, okay, you will be able to heal these wounds. You will be able to heal the wounds of all these other people who were wounded. It doesn't mean that what they did was right by any means, but you helped them cross over into a different space and time. Okay, so when we're talking about parallel universes, everything's happening simultaneously. So your choice to make a difference in the future, present moment, can actually alter things in the past by rewriting it. Because what happens is when we tell the story long enough and we share our story in our subconscious mind, and super subconscious mind keeps hearing it over and over and over, then there comes a point where you start to feel change. You start to forgive yourself. You start to move into this energy that is like, I'm going to heal my ancestors. I'm going to heal the perpetrators of the past, because I know that they were abused. I know that they were hurt. And I know this isn't easy for people to hear. This isn't easy for people to go, okay, I can't do that. They deserve to rot in hell, blah, blah, blah. Sure, they do deserve whatever punishment they deserve. I get that. But also, when we damn and when we put something on somebody else, we're doing the same kind of thing but at a different level, because we're not letting ourselves heal from it. You can be mad, you can be angry, and you're going to go through that, and you've gone through that. You don't have to hold this anger and be angry and keep being angry, when you know that if you help heal yourself, you have to help heal the others that came before you. It's so difficult. It's kind of like the things that are happening right now in our country. There's a lot of old wounds that need to be healed. They need to be healed. They need to be addressed. They need to be seen. And right now we're like in the crux of that, where we're actually seeing the wounds raw. We're looking at them and they're in front of us. And we're looking at people who have felt this energy, who have been told this story over and over, and kept the history going because it was important enough to know that one day we have to work on it. So all the things that you're looking at right now in the world is because we have to work on it. It came to a head where the ancestors are like, we have to heal these wounds. How do we heal these wounds? How do we forgive ourselves? How do we forgive all these things that happen to many, many people, not just blacks, Native Americans, Irish, you name it, everybody. And but in modern times, the African American society is the one he gets a lot of the heat and gets a lot of the flack and gets a lot of the attention. And rightfully so. So how do we heal wounds? How do we move into a new place? How do we take that energy that is very angry, very frustrated, and it says it's not being heard and it wants to be heard, and will scream as loud as it can so it could be acknowledged and it could be seen and felt, okay? And it will do that. It will do that. So how do we do that? For some people it's destroying statues. For some people it's removing flags. For some people it's this. But you know what? I'm talking about the core stuff. I'm talking about the things that, that brought us all us to this moment in time. Because most people who are here now are the ones who have the power to change and fix and move our energies into the great place it needs to be right now. When we start to understand that we are all in this together, when it's all my relations, when we're all one, that we're all part of the great scheme, of Creator, that we're not separate from Creator. We separate ourselves from Creator. We separate ourselves from the universe and from things. And then we put ourselves in these categories, and we put ourselves into these labels. We put ourselves into these corrals. So how do we heal past wounds? Number one, we acknowledge them, right? So we're acknowledging them right now. Acknowledge that there was something very detrimental, something that very changed the complexity of what you feel and what you see and how you feel right now. But for a lot of people, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to let go of things. But everybody who's on here, Chris, Sherry, Kate, just go on down the list. We're all part of something much bigger. We're something much more in depth, much more powerful. we are the ones that can cause and create and manifest and change the world. Number one, by changing the world, how we perceive and what we feel. Okay, so, and it's easy for me to say that here on the line, but when you start to look at your family line, you start looking at your history, you start looking at all the things that happened to you, you can either live in those stories, not forget them, you can live in them and they can own you. Now, if they own you, then you've given them permission to dictate, lead, and do the things that need to be done. And that energy will follow that course. Like a river, it will take you right down that road. Now, if you want to change the course of the river, then you're going to have to look at yourself in a much different light. You're going to have to look at yourself in a way that is ready to open up the wounds and ready to acknowledge that, hey, I'm wounded, but doesn't mean I'm owned by the wounding. So many of us are owned by the wounding that we can't live in the present moment. The present moment becomes very muddled with our past and our stories and our histories. Now, I come from a background of indigenous people who were abused and conquered by the Spanish and killed. But also within that conquest, I also am part of the European side that also mixed with the Native Americans of those regions of South America. I'm also a part of that history. I'm also part of that. Now, how do I heal that? Knowing that I had no control over what had happened is the first understanding that you didn't have control of how that scenario played out. Now, you can understand that that's very difficult for people to go, hey, you know what, but I wasn't there, and I didn't do it. It wasn't me, it was somebody else, You hear a lot of that, and I get that. But that's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is, how do you heal something that somebody else did? By acknowledging it. Hey, my ancestors did come over here and they did some crazy stuff. And I'm going to forgive myself because I don't have to own that energy, because that energy is not mine. That's their energy. But it's carried through me because my story has been carried on. That Christopher Columbus was the great discoverer. He came through Spain. You know what? He was an Italian guy. They made statues for him, blah, 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 on and on. But as the story develops and as you do more research, you find out that Christopher Columbus wasn't the best guy in the world. And most of these guys weren't. There's a handful of people who did good things. But in this time and day and age, there was a lot of stuff that went on. There was a lot of commerce. There was a lot of business. There was a lot of things. It was modern to the time. It was something that was part of what it was. So we understand that. The church was a big player. The church was a huge player. The church was one of probably the most powerful things on the earth at the time, even more than the monarchies. They said, whatever they said was in the name of God. So, hence, we come here, we dock our ships. These people don't even speak Spanish or Italian or English. They speak their native tongue. And then we damn them because we want what they have. And it's nothing new, nothing different than what we have right now. We're repeating the same behaviors. And so the behaviors carry on because it's learned behavior. So how do you cut it off? How do you stop it? Because you have to acknowledge that that's what's happening. But if we give it the excuse that, hey, this is business and this is what we do and this is what we're going to keep doing. My ancestors did it. I'm going to do it. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to support it. then we're carrying on a lineage of storytelling, a lineage of something that may not even been true. So you have the power to say, okay, my ancestors didn't do the best thing, but I'm gonna talk to them. How many of you have had make-believe friends? Let me know how many of you have make-believe friends, and how many of you still have make-believe friends. But I don't even want to call them make-believe, because we do have friends. Listen, in this spiritual parallel universe, this infinite universe, there are beings here that communicate with you every day, and sometimes you think you're talking to yourself, and you think you're having a conversation with yourself, and you're actually having a conversation with a whole different entity, whole different being. And some of you have friends who are not human. I have friends who are not human. And I would be surprised if you don't have any friends that aren't human. You should be able to have conversations. So most of you call them guides. Most of them you call them angels. Most of you guys call them dolphins. You name it. You have all this stuff that you do in order to connect with spirit. And yet we make fun of people when they have a make-believe friend or whatever. La la la. But yet you will draw cards and ask the animal totems to pull something up for you. And then you know what? These things are real. These things really are in front of us. So when you ask Iggy, hey Iggy, can you draw me the card? What's my spirit gonna let you know? That means that's your connection. That's your connection to yourself. That's connection to higher self. So when we bring in spirit, we bring in higher self, we bring in God. When we ask for God to guide us, or spirit to guide us, universe to guide us, then amazing things happen. When we try to do it on our own, it can be very difficult. Some of us don't even want to deal with humans. We go straight to the cards. We go straight to the angels. We go straight to our spirit guides. We go straight to a higher self. Because for us, it's easier to deal with that because they're kind of impartial. They won't really give you misinformation. With humans, they can embellish and create and divert and go in different directions. So what I'm thinking here is that, we have to understand that we are more than just our physical bodies. We are more than just physical bodies. The physical body that gets traumatized and abused or wounded feels it. So when the physical body feels those wounds, when that body is compromised, the spiritual body housed within that body, is also compromised. Think of it just like, plumbing in your house. The water is running through, blah, blah, blah. If there's one little clog, it causes a lot of problems. And then if you have one big, huge clog at the base of everything, causes problems all over. But if we keep our energy flowing, keep our pipes moving, our spirit flowing, then we can go into a better place. Now, how do you heal wounds? Well, you go back. You go back and you create a journal and you begin the day of your conception. The day you were born. You talk to yourself as if you were talking to you. Dear Iggy, it's great to see you come into this world. Wow, what an amazing thing. I never thought I'd see the day that I would see us. I never thought I'd see you ever be born. Here we are. Wow. Dear Iggy, you graduated from high school. We graduated from high school. Amazing feat. What do you want to do now? Where do you want to go? How do you want to move on? Dear Iggy, she's amazing. She's not? Okay. I like her. You like her. You start to talk to yourself. You start to talk to the ages. You start to talk and you start to work. And you start to plan the story. Imagine if you're 53 years old and you go talk to a child of 1. They may not comprehend, they may not understand, but since it's you can reset the tone, reset the story in that. And I've done this and it works. And especially when you get to the traumatic part. Wow, dear Iggy, I am so sorry that I let you down. And I'm sorry that this happened to us. So how can we make this better? And then the voices of the child will start to speak. The voices that you are waiting for will come out of your mouth. This is very powerful stuff. Okay, so this is part of shamanism. This is part of, soul retrieval work. This is part of that stuff that you hear about, read about. To journal your story from conception. You can do it even from conception. You can even do it from the other side of before you even conceived. But the easier part is when you're in the 9 months, when you're inside your mom. You can actually change the chemistry of yourself while you're in the womb. And I tell you, this stuff works. The question is, do you believe it? Imagination is very powerful. Okay, so this is one of the tools that you have, and you have to let free and you have to give it a chance. You have to give it a chance to rewrite. Because what will end up happening is the one talking to the other will start to listen to the one that's speaking. So the other version of yourself will start to talk. And then you start to carry this energy forward. There's going to be some anger, there's going to be some frustration, but there's going to be some more amazing things will come from this when you rewrite your story, when you tell your story. And you'll start to see and you'll start to energetically change in the present moment. It's crazy. I've seen some amazing things happen to some people, and I've seen some powerful stuff. And and it freaks some people out, and some people stop doing it because it's too trippy for them. Is it a parallel universe? Is it a different version? There's multiple universes. There's multiple parallels in this world. These universes vast. There's so much that's happening that we can't explain. We can never explain. We will never be able to explain, just because it is what it is. But the power journal, okay, what I call it's the loom, okay, where you can take the pieces and add them to it or change them, take them out. These are the little beads of life. You take them and you put them on the loom. And then you keep rewriting the loom. And then if you don't like how the loom is looking, you take it apart and you put it back together. You just keep working. You keep weaving the tapestry that is yours. This isn't hard. It just takes time. And you know what? If healing takes a lifetime, then be it. It's better to be working on yourself and being a better version of you to the end than versus not doing anything and live a life of, a very unhappy life. So one day you will be the ancestors. Until then, live. One day you will be the story of your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews that they will tell about you. One day you will be forgotten completely. One day you won't exist to the world. You won't even have a remote inkling of who you even were. Many of you can't even tell me who your great uncle is, or your great grandmother is. Most of you can't even tell me what you had for breakfast last week. The point is, we live and then we die. What we do in the middle is up to us. If we want to heal those wounds, we have to take on the tasks, and we have to listen to ourselves and share the stories to ourselves versus telling the story to others. You can tell people all day long, yeah, I was abused, blah, 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 and this is what happened to me. And I'm miserable because I'm this way because of this what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Same story. You're going to attract like-minded people who tell the same stories. If you want to be better, you want to heal, then work on yourself. Take the steps to heal the pieces and parts of you that are wounded. How do you do that? I just gave you some ideas, okay? Rewrite the stories. Write the story. Write the story of how you think your ancestors were versus how it's been told to you. Because it may have been told to you wrong. It may have been told to you incorrectly. And most likely, it evolved into a story that's not true. Most of your ancestral history is probably not correct. Most of the things that you think of your family is probably not right. Because just look at your life, how complex it is, and all the things that you do, and all the little intricacies that you go through every day just to get through the day. And someone trying to sum up your life in a short tell story, it's not. If you wanted to tell my story, you wouldn't get it right. You would only take the highlights of it. And the highlights are either very good, very indifferent, or very profound. So we usually only know the highlights of stories and what people's stories are, because usually that's what people share. So depending what you're sharing, if you're sharing the highlights of your life and leaving out the other parts, it's okay. But remember, people will always remember the highlights. But as soon as they see the low life, the low part of yourself, and it's not congruent with your highlight, then they question, then they wonder. There are a lot of people I know personally who hate their ancestors because of all the treacherous things they did. Okay, but this is history. This is your time. You don't have to be them. Okay, so they were all bad. But it doesn't make... You're not bad. Why own their energy? Why hold on to their story, which isn't even your story to begin with? It's just part of what brought you to this point in time. All those ancestral links that bring you to now had to happen in that way because that's the way it was. Now, when you're ready to move into the next phase of your life, you want to move into the next parameters of your life, you have to do the things that will be congruent for you and be good for you to make life better for you and how you want your life to live. That's why you ever hear people say goal setting, writing, jotting your thoughts down, because these are important, because our mind is very fleeting. We can think of something very magical and very amazing, and then by the next thought, we're completely forgotten. Take a little notebook with you, and just a little one, just write. As soon as you get a profound thought in your mind, write it down. You know, there's so many profound verses and profound sayings that come out of our mouths that will never be heard ever again, just because we said it once. And if you think it's that important, write it down. Because it's you communicating with you. It's your version of yourself. You are alive presently in this moment. You are in this moment, this time right here, this space and time. As there's other things in space and time happening simultaneously with you. But the only one you have preview to is the one that you're in. You're right here, and this is yours. And this is yours to direct. This is yours to destroy. This is yours to embellish. This is yours to paint. This is yours to write. This is yours to share with the world. This is yours to not share with anybody. This is yours to live as a hermit. This is yours to be a millionaire. This is yours to be an average person. This is yours to write whatever you want it to be. But most of you will just do enough to get you by to the next day. And I'm just as guilty as the next person. Because it does take work and it takes responsibility on your part to do these things. If you want to move into a better place in your life, then you have to write your story. Don't be owned by stories that are past. They're only a version of what happened in that moment. Yes, it could have been terrible moments. But you're in this moment now. Does that moment own your present moment? That's what you got to ask yourself. Does the moment that no longer exists own the moment today? It doesn't have to, unless you choose it to. Unless you choose that part to own you, it will. Most of us are willing to go back there and bring it forward and apply it to today, so we can't move into the next direction. And to protect ourselves, we create this wall for ourselves. We create this place that, you know, is our fortress. And you know what? We won't let anybody in, you know? No, I've been screwed over before, and I'm not going to let anybody screw me over again. Well, you've already let people screw you. Now you've invited people to screw you. You've invited people to come into your space and do what you didn't want to do. Because what you resist persists. What you don't want wants more of you. Okay? So if you want something that you like, then you have to go obtain it. Tear down those walls. Move out. You don't need no walls to protect you. You've already protected because you already know how to protect yourself. The question is, when you're inside the wall, sometimes you can't see what's below or what's over here because you're so focused this way. You have the blinders on, and all you can see is waiting for somebody to do you wrong. And when that person does you wrong, you're like, I told you, I knew it, and I told you they were going to screw me over. I told you I just had a feeling. I just knew. I'm glad I had my protectors on. But if you came from a place of understanding and compassion for yourself, that person would never even come even close to you. They wouldn't even be able to come around you. Because you'll be standing in your power. You'll be standing in your own energy. If you don't have to protect healthy limits and boundaries, yes. You create these boundaries and they're healthy. So when someone wants to perpetrate you, you're like, hey, nope, see ya. Yes, may your yeses be yes, may your no's be no, may your maybes be maybes. Regardless, just stand by what you believe. If something you don't like, just say, I don't like that. You don't have to give an explanation. I love that. You don't have to give an explanation. Maybe. You don't have to give an explanation. So many of us think that we have to explain our position all the time, which is not true. We don't have to explain our position. We just have to be where we are for ourselves. Healing ourselves, it's a process, one day at a time. Okay? Looking at yourself in the mirror and talking to yourself, and you say, I love you, I love you, I forgive you, I forgive you, I love you, I love you, I forgive you, forgive you. You do it for 50 to 100 times, you'll start laughing, you'll start smiling. I love you, I love you. And you keep doing the inflections, using the words. You know what? I forgive you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. God bless. When you start talking to yourself, when you start to have a conversation with yourself, and you start to have this moment of spiritual awakening within yourself, within your own belief system about who you think you are. So many of us don't even know who we are. So many of us are so confused about where we fit in. It's not about fitting in. It's about being where you are for yourself. You should never really worry about where you fit in. You should worry about how you are inviting people into your life. It's so easy to invite the wrong people into our lives because we're trying to fit in, because we're trying to be part of something, because we're trying to explain our position and trying to explain, oh, I do charity work. Oh, yeah, I do this, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, I'm a soccer player. I'm a shaman, blah, blah, blah. What we have to work on is empowering ourselves. People say, so what do you do for a living? That's one of the biggest things. People are always curious, what do you do for a living? And I tell people, I don't know. I don't really know what I do for a living. I show up. I'm here. And some days, I don't know what I'm doing. Some days, I don't have an answer. Because I'm not doing a living. I'm not doing a living. I am living. You know what I'm saying? My life is not dictated by what I produce. My life is what I have in my heart, in my spirit, my soul, and what I share with the world, versus of what I am part of or privy to or affiliated with. So you ever ask me what I do for a living, I'll probably say, I don't know, good question. I'm living and I'm being part of the world, and I'm sharing my love of music, my love of drums, my love of speaking, But do I have a job? Do I have a living? Not really. These are just means to a way, ways to a means. And that's what jobs are. So it's just funny how we try to get into conversation. But the easiest thing is to look in the mirror. I will guarantee you, if you do it for 50 times each day for 7 days a week, you're going to see physical change in your body, change in your face. You will see another person appear in the mirror. There will be another version of yourself show up. There will be an ancestral face that shows up. And it will freak you out. But don't stop. Don't quit. When the face changes, when it morphs, when you shapeshift, and you start to see the parts of you, because what's happening is you're breaking down these barriers that you've created for yourself to protect yourself. So I've given you some ideas. I've given you some stuff to work on. There are plenty more other things that I can help you with. But these are things that are very easy. These are things that are very practical, things that you can do, and no one's going to really question you. But my favorite one is looking in the mirror and just staring at the mirror and talking to myself. And you know what? I haven't done it in a while, but it's very profound and it's very powerful. And it doesn't matter what your wife or husband or spouse or significant other says to you, because the cool thing about it is you'll notice it. They'll never notice. They'll never see the change that you are expecting to happen. Or if you're waiting for somebody else to see you change, you're going to be waiting a long time because they don't have any expectations, because they don't have any point of reference of what needs to be changed. So it's hard for people to see you any different than they've already created in their mind of what you are to them. Most of you are creations of other people's, projections. So if you're quiet and you're soft spoken, if you're loud and voices, people, that's what people have projected and expect from you. As soon as you veer from that pattern, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Are you okay? What's going on in your life? You seem a little different today." No, today I'm not shy. Today I'm not loud. And but we do it too. And the thing is to check in with ourselves every day. Check in. Check in with who you are. Look in the mirror and you set some powerful affirmations for yourself. I am versus I'm going to be. Own it as if you are today. I'm healed. I'm better. Versus I'm healing. No, you're healed. I'm healed. I've healed. I've moved. I'm moved on. Words are very powerful. The things that hold us back the most are the words and how we speak to ourselves. Most of the things you tell yourself are the reasons why you are where you are today, and why I am where I am today. Because of the way I speak to myself and how I talk to myself and how I communicate with me versus how I communicate with everybody else. How I have dialogue with me. We've been taught in this society that dialogue with ourselves is weirdo stuff. Weird. But that's not true. The best conversations are going to be the ones you have with yourself. So journal. Talk in the mirror. Set affirmations. Forgive yourself. It takes time. Work on you. Because you'll be glad you did. You'll be super glad that you did. So, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. I hope that you guys got something out of what I was sharing today. Healing those wounds. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy journey, but it doesn't have to be hard either. Things don't have to be hard. The illusion is that it's going to be a hard road. It doesn't have to be. That's someone's projection. That's somebody saying, already put it out there. Words are so charged. That's why when we look at somebody and say, "Man, how did you do that?" It's because they didn't buy into the words. They didn't buy into the stories that somebody else was trying to create for them. So many of us buy into stories and think that things have to be a certain way. It's not true. And if you're ready to heal, you're ready to move on, and you need someone to guide you and work through the process, I'm available. IggyGarcia.com. You can get a hold of me there. If you need a reading, let me know. You need a coach through this process, I'm there as well. So with that, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I also want to invite you all to come out to the drumming on Saturday at Griggs Reservoir off of Fishinger Road in Nottingham. And when you turn down the road to the park towards the river, you turn left. You go up about a block. So there's a big shelter house, and there's also the stone stage. So I want to say it's good to be here. Ho'oponopono, matakuyasin, irisikwi, namaste, hallelujah, aho, and all the good things that come with that. All right, guys. And it's at noon, too, guys. I forgot to tell you. It's at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So bring all your solstice celebration stuff, things that you want to, bring in the solstice, and maybe we'll go out and have ice cream after. Peace and love, guys. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Get a hold of me. Let me know. Send me a message if this was a good message for you today. If this was something that you resonate with. If this is something that that you want to learn more about this process. You don't have to walk it alone. And in the beginning, maybe you did for a little bit, but you don't have to anymore. All right, guys. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Love one another. Honor as best you can other people. And just know that they're going to have different beliefs than you, and they're going to be where they're at, regardless of, whatever's happening in this world. We have control of what we see, what we feel, and what we want to happen. And, that's very evident in the world we live in today. So with that, share your stories, share your feelings, your emotions with all the people that you love and all you care. Because you know what? It's one step at a time. It's one moment to get you to the place you need to be. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Be well. I will see you guys next week on Iggy Garcia Live. And we don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll get there when we get there. All right, guys, be well. And I will see you soon. With that, we'll blow out our candle. Give thanks. See you next time.